What's up, guys? Good morning. So I am preparing for my Ask Dr. K Instagram Live on Monday, where I will answer some questions. First of all, I'm excited about the questions that I've received so far, and I'm excited about answering them. So I've been looking at the questions, um, as they were coming in and kind of thinking about them over the past couple of days as I prepare for Monday's live. And one, I wanted to come on just to encourage you guys to, hopefully send questions in, hopefully join me. Thank you for those who have shared the post. I really appreciate that. My network I can only cast my net but so far through my network. So thank you guys for, how the old time church used to say, not seeing it robbery to share, to share, my post. So I appreciate that a lot. So as I prepare for that, and kind of looking at some of the other things that I've done over the past, as I kind of transition from, Kwanzaa the student to Kwanzaa the actual practitioner, if you will, just really always in a reflective mode, or always in a reflective state. And so this is really no different, just kind of reflecting on where I am, where I've come from, what I've done, and what those things look like. So, and how they're showing up like in real time. So, one of the things that I love to do when I'm in this transition, or feel like I'm in a state of transition, or even preparing for something new, is a lot of times I like to kind of go back and look at where I've been, what I've done, remind myself of, the effort and the time and the work that it took to accomplish the things that I've been able to accomplish at whatever level it is, whether it's completing a PhD, writing a book or two or three or four or five, whether it's challenging myself in a new area with regards to, creatively, intellectually, whatever that challenge is, whatever that new space that I find myself entering into. A lot of times I like to kind of take a step back to think about where I've been. And I often think about King David, before he became king, when he, thought about when he was defeating Goliath, and he thought about the times where God had delivered him. He talks about how God delivered him from the bear, and how God delivered him from the lion, and how because God has been so faithful to him in the past, he knows that God is going to continue to be faithful to him and deliver him from this uncircumcised Philistine, as he referred to Goliath. And so what I find just in that story, and how it applies to my life day to day, is just the power of reflection, the power of remembering, where God has brought you from, where He's taking you, and what He's doing in you and with you, and how all of that, continues to develop and relay you into your next, right? And so I'm super excited about this next phase. And I'll tell you guys, I think, all the lessons that I have learned over this 51 years that God has blessed me, to be on this earth, the lessons that I've learned, the experiences that I've had, being able to reflect back on people and places and things that have been important to me and have encouraged me and have continued to push me, is a great thing. It really is. This week I spent probably, I would say probably a good 20 hours on the phone talking to 5 people, right? So these conversations have averaged 3 hours, 4 hours, uh, uh, 3-4 hours per conversation, and they have been and always are some of the most beautiful conversations that I get to have. So those conversations was with my baby girl, Dr. Baby Girl. I had about a 3-hour conversation with her. My oldest sister, Robin, I had about a 3-hour conversation with her. My sister Angela, I got to talk with her this week in another marathon conversation, probably about 3 hours with her. Got to talk with my best friend yesterday, another 3 hour conversation. And then I got to talk with my Aunt Janie earlier in the week. And that was another, about 2 hour conversation or so. And so I think it's so beautiful when you have those kind of relationships and people that you can just pick up the phone and literally like, hey, I just wanted to check on you. And, 3 hours later, you're still laughing and kikiing and just nothing but good energy, good vibes, good conversation. And I'm grateful to have, like, that's just a part of the village. So I'm grateful to have those people in my life. And I'm grateful that they're family, to have that level of relationship with family is a beautiful thing. One of the other things I got to do this week was I love to scroll through like my photos in on Facebook, especially when I'm in my head and thinking about what's next and wondering and questioning and trying to relate and understand, what I'm feeling in each moment. One of the things I love to do is kind of reflect on, just kind of go through my photos and I don't know why I keep looking over there, the window's there. But one of the things I love to do is kind of just scroll through my Facebook photos and I always find the most inspiration, the most motivation. Just looking through those photos again, just reminiscing and being reminded of what God has done and what He's allowed me to accomplish and where I'm going and where I've come from and where I'm going and how all of it ties together and how I'm fully equipped for all of it and how faithful God has been and continues to be in my life and it's just a wonderful thing. So, that's another thing that I've been doing this week. In addition to that, and I think I may have shared this in another video. But nonetheless, when I was heading out to my graduation, we're on a plane and I think I did share this, but nonetheless, while I was heading out to my graduation, we're on the plane and even the days leading up to it is like, I'm so compartmentalized, right? Everything I'm like, Tuesday, I'm here on Tuesday and whatever Tuesday requires of me, that's when I give to Tuesday and don't spend too much time thinking about Wednesday and not too much time thinking about Monday. So I'm really trying to practice and have, by the grace of God, have come so far in this practice of just really kind of being in the moment, being in the now. But what I realize in doing that, it requires a lot of compartmentalizing for me. And so it just works for me, if I'm like right now, I'm doing this video and I'm right here with this video and that works for me. I'm not worrying about what I'm going to do after the video. I'm not thinking about what I did before the video. I'm like right here, but still drawing from, especially those things that has happened, still being able to draw from those past experiences and, the different things that I've been able to see and do and encounter, throughout the week. Like it's all beautiful and it's all good. So being able to reflect on those things is a wonderful thing. And I say that because as I'm preparing for Monday, I was asking God, like, okay, Lord, what is it, really trying to connect with where I am and where I'm going. And so as I started to talk about like flying out to graduation, I was on the plane, and while I'm on the plane, I love to fly, especially a nice direct flight. So I'm on the plane and I'm listening to music and I'm just kind of thinking and reflecting and know what I'm preparing for and excited about. I don't even know if excited is the right word, but just like in my head about like what the next days, the day ahead was going to offer, because obviously, and of course you guys know, I was traveling to graduate. And so I'm thinking about, man, PhD, what does that mean? Reflecting on all the years of hard work, reflecting on, what will it yield me in the future and what does that look like and all those wonderful things. But always being sure to keep it here, and I don't know, like, again, compartmentalizing. So everything is like here first, always here first. What does that mean to me? What does it mean to Kwanzaa first? And when I say what does it mean to me, I'm talking physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, like all of that. What does it mean to me first? And then how might others be able to benefit from whatever that is, whatever it is. And so as I'm as we're flying to Montgomery, Alabama, I was trying to tap into like, all right, how do you feel? Like, you're graduating tomorrow. How do you feel? And all I could think about was like, man, that was so much work. And that's all I could think about was like, the time and effort and energy that was put into it. And it wasn't really real to me, I think, until not like even when they called my name, even when he made the announcement, and it wasn't real to me till I, came up on the stage, walked off the stage, and the president of the university like shook my hand and he said, "Congratulations, this is a huge accomplishment." And it wasn't until that moment that I was able to really receive the fact that, man, this is a huge accomplishment. And from that moment, I just had like goosebumps and I was just like overjoyed. And that's when the excitement kicked in. And so that was that moment. And obviously for the rest of the day, and as people are congratulating me and my family is celebrating me and my friends are celebrating me, all that felt amazing. And I was still like very much on cloud nine. I think I was on cloud nine for at least a week. Like literally just on cloud nine, not even really trying to process or think or anything, but just like really in this space of celebrating this huge accomplishment, really in a space of gratitude for all the obstacles that I was able to overcome, a space of gratitude for, all the things that God had moved in my favor and provided, like all of that stuff. I was just literally on cloud nine. Well, not literally, but I was on cloud nine with all of that. And it's just a great space to be in. But while I was coming back from Montgomery, well, we flew into Montgomery and we flew out from Memphis, and that's a whole other story. But we went to Memphis. I think I shared with you guys. Went to Memphis, Tennessee. Well, we went to. I'm not even getting into this whole story. We went to see Babe's father's gravesite. He is buried in a veteran cemetery in Arkansas. And so we drove from Alabama to Arkansas to go to Babe's dad's gravesite. And then we drove back. Our hotel and the airport and all that stuff was like right around outside of Memphis area. So we flew out from Memphis. And while we were flying back, we flew back like that evening or early evening, late afternoon. I think our flight was like 4 o'clock or something. Central Standard Time. So we're flying back, and I'm still kind of like, man, like really processing like where we just been. And there were so many amazing like God moments, even during that whole trip, so many amazing God moments. So you're just like, flying back and you're reflecting. And I took 2 books with me. I don't have the other one with me, but I do have the one I'm going to share with you guys. I took 2 books with me. One was, I can't even think of the name, but it was like Unlearned by, I cannot even think of the name. Yeah, it's not coming to me, but it's called Unlearned. And I was reading that on my way to Alabama, Montgomery. And so on my way back, I started reading the second book, which is, you guys may have guessed it, Reflections of a Life Well Lived by, you guys may have guessed it. I don't know if you can see that. But I started reading my book. And the reason I started reading, the reason I wrote this book, and I've shared it many, many times. The reason I wrote this book was I felt like God was shifting me into some other space, and that this was a moment in time that it was almost like a capsule project, if you will. You know how some people do like a time capsule? That's what this book reflects for me. Reflections of a Life Well Lived is for me. It is a time capsule. And I felt like God was saying, okay, capture all these things. And it's amazing because years before that, I remember God was just like putting in my spirit to think over like some of the pivotal moments in my life. And this was, years ago, probably at least over, let me see, I published this book in 2020. So it had to be probably as early as 2008, 2009, where God was just impressing upon my spirit to really just kind of start reflecting over my life and those pivotal moments and those really, concrete moments that helped to shape me, to challenge me, to establish me, just all those different moments. And so fast forward, 2020, published this book, and it really felt like God would say, okay, now put a period at the end of that. And that's what that was. So that's what this is for me. Reflections of a Life Well Lived is very much a time capsule for me. And it's something that I wrote as a reminder, not just for myself. Like I said, everything starts here first. So it wasn't just a book that was written as a reminder for myself of where I come from, where I've been. But it's also a mark in time, I think, for like my children and my children's children and my children's children. So where they can kind of go back and say, oh, my great great grandmama Kwanzaa did, And this book I'm so incredibly proud of. I'm proud of all the work that I did, honestly. Everything that I've ever done, I'm incredibly proud of. And I'm super proud of this book. I'm going to put a little blast of air on me. I'm super proud of this book because I see what it will mean to my future generation. Um, and it's even more special. I'll share this because baby girl, so this was one of those God moments. So while we're driving from Tennessee, well, while we're driving from Alabama through Memphis and Arkansas and Tennessee and all that stuff. Where we at? Memphis, Tennessee. Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi. Yeah, I think Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi was all those. But as we're driving through through the South, first of all, going from Alabama through Mississippi, through Tennessee to Arkansas, there was this very real sense of, okay, we're down south. Now, granted, it's 2023, and I think there's still like challenges there, but it was something very surreal about recognizing that, the pervasion of slavery in the South and what that meant, and just the, all the trees and just everything that we drove by. It was just this very surreal, very much in tune to the history of the South, right? And so all of that was resonating and buzzing through me. Finishing a PhD, that was buzzing through me. And as we were driving, baby girl, she called and she was sharing with me. She's kind of capturing like our family, our lineage through Ancestry.com. And she was sharing with me some of the things that she was able to find, like on my dad's side of the family. And she's just like, and she was able to go as far back. I tell you guys, I think on my dad's side, I think she was able to go back to like 1825 or 1823, somewhere around there, which is absolutely incredible considering slavery didn't end until 1868, if my history is correct. So it was 1868 or 1865? 1865. I think 68 was hitting me with MLK's assassination. So, but yeah, 1865. So to be able to go back to 1823, 25 was absolutely incredible. And she was sharing with me, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but she was sharing with me about my great, great, great grandmother, or however greats removed, that on the census, it showed that she was not able to write or read or write. I got a little emotional there. But the fact that she was not able to read or write, and here I am in the South, getting a whole PhD. And so the reality of that was just, it was incredible. The reality of that was incredible. And to hear that, after completing this thing, and as, we're preparing or transitioning to the next. So to have that reminder, I just feel like I got goosebumps, guys. I just feel so emotional. To hear that was so incredible, and it was just a reminder, like, of God saying that you have purpose and you've come from somewhere and you're going somewhere and you are a conduit to that, like we all are. So when we think about our lives and our and our relevance and the parts that we play, my God, the importance of our endurance, right? The importance of our endurance, the importance of our experiences, the importance of our contributions to society and to the world on like the large scale, but also on this very small scale. When I say small scale, I mean just like you and yours, right? Like I said, everything starts here first and it starts moving outward. So anything that I do, it starts with me first. What is it that Kwanzaa's getting from this? Whether it's an education, whether it's working out, whether it's studying the Word of God, whether it's starting something new, is like, what is Kwanzaa getting out of it first? Then how does that relate to my family? How does it relate to my husband? How does it relate to my children? Then how does it relate to my mother and my father and my siblings? And then how does it relate to, like, it just goes from there. And that's why this book is so special to me, because I literally, I kind of wrote it from that space, almost inverted, where I start looking at like the chapters really talks to like my history. And I think I say something in here. I think one of the very first lines in here is, yep. And I literally, I didn't even read this, but in my introduction, I says, in my introduction, I say, whenever I set out to create anything, whether it is writing a book, painting a picture, or building a business, I always ask myself a series of questions. What is the purpose? What is the resounding reason why I have decided to embark on such a task? What is it that compels me against all odds to commit myself to this? Also, I seek to understand my level of conviction, knowing that this is tied directly to my level of commitment. When everything in me wants to quit, to give up, and to throw in a towel, when I find myself fretting and screaming, it's too hard, I just want to give up, it's not worth it, I'm not good enough, or simply why, I have to fully understand what compels me. And one of the things that I think, that wasn't a sentence that I thought, but that was a powerful sentence. But one of the things that I understand that compels me is my role and my position in this thing called life. There are things that I do that I may never understand the impact that it has on others. And I struggle with this so much. If you've read this book, I really struggle with the whole idea of that through girlfriend therapy, because one of my greatest struggles with girlfriend therapy was I don't think people are getting it. I don't think people are listening. I don't think people are, respecting it and all these different things. And God had to remind me, it's like, you may never see the fruits that is produced from the tree that is Kwanzaa. And one of my, oh my gosh, this is so emotional. I didn't realize it would be so emotional. You may never see the fruit that is produced. Like I may never see, like I will not, it's not even I may not, I will not see in my lifetime the fruit that is produced through my actions, through my perseverance, through my obedience, through me sharing. I will never see the fruits that I produce in my lifetime. But I have to know that it is fruit producing. Like I have to know that whatever it is that God has allowed me to do, whatever it is that whatever doors God has opened for me, it is my responsibility to walk through those doors with the full understanding that God has me, that He has a purpose for me, and then that purpose is greater than me. It is greater than Kwanzaa living today, on this 20th day of May 9th or 20th day of, I think 20th day of May 2023. Like it is greater than that. And that is what compels me. Like that is what continues to push me forward in a world where things just feel underrated or overrated or oversaturated or under whatever, undervalued, or whatever that is, whatever it is that I feel in a moment when God is calling me to do something or pulling me to do something or putting this thing in this task or this thing in front of me to move, right? I'm always aware of the fact that it is greater than that thing. Like everything that I do is greater than the thing. I always say, is that the seed. Let me see. How do I always say it? I'm sorry, guys. I'll paraphrase it, and it is a quote that I literally always say, and I can't even think of it right now. But I always say that the seed is always smaller than what it produces. Always smaller. Always smaller. So you think about that. Whatever I am planting into something, whatever I am giving to something, it is always smaller than what it produces. So thinking about, for me, thinking about the time that I committed to starting girlfriend therapy, or the time that I committed to writing a book, or the time that I committed to studying and completing this PhD, that all of that time is smaller than what is going to come from it. And with that, I can probably talk about this in so much more detail. But with that, I am so encouraged. I am so encouraged with where God is moving, the doors that He's opening, the opportunities, the growth. And I'm not, I'll tell you this, I'm not even encouraged for what it's doing now. I am encouraged by what it will produce for future generations. And so with that, my desire, first and foremost, is to continue to move boldly in the things that God is calling me to do. My desire is to continue to continue to hear from God, and just to continue to move. Like that is my desire, and that I will never put my expectations or what I think I need to see or how I think I need to feel or what I want to see. Like I will never, by the grace of God and the ushering and the leading of the Holy Spirit, that I may never minimize my efforts or even exaggerate my efforts for something as frivolous as now. And what I mean by that, when I think of now, I think of like what's popular, like what's the going thing, what's going to, in this world, seem to give me more anything. Like I don't want more of anything that this world has to offer. I only want everything. I only want everything that God has to offer for me in my life and my existence. And whether I have another 50 years on this earth or another 15 years on this earth, I just want to commit my life to all of the things that God has called me to do in this leg of the race, right? This leg of the race that is my lineage. I love in the Bible when it talks about, and when it goes through the list of who begot whom, right? I could say that, my parents begot me. And me and my husband begot our children. And my son and Jade will beget their children. And Nia and Devinda will beget their children. And the lineage continues. And the role that I play, by the grace of God, like I said, in the ushering of the Holy Spirit, may I complete and fulfill everything that God has called me to do. And so I fast forward so quickly because I got here, really slow. But I fast forward a little bit to say that as I was flying back from Memphis, and I'm on the plane and I'm reading my book, the words that I wrote that was given to me many, many years through experience and given to me by God to just press or to capture or to reflect. I was reading, just the beginning, the first few chapters, and the first chapter out after the introduction. The first chapter after the introduction is My Family, My Tribe. And in that, I talk about my grandparents and, you know, who they are to me and what they've poured into me. What they've poured into me. The next chapter I talk about, or the next chapter is Made from Love. And I talk about my mom, and I talk about my dad, and I talk about what they meant to me and what they poured into me and how they raised me and how important every lesson that they offered, how significant those lessons were and are in my life. And then after that chapter, I have Little Sister's Creed. And in this chapter, I talk about my siblings. I talk about Robin, Kim, and Aaron, who are my siblings that I grew up in the household with. I talk about them and the important roles that they all played in my life from the time I was a little girl until now. And so I share with you guys that I literally talk to my two sisters for hours. Their life is such a reflection for me always. And I never lose that little sister spirit when I'm talking to them. Their wisdom, their experiences, their words always mean so much to me. And I take it and I receive it the same way I did when I was a little girl. I don't look at it and say, well, I'm grown now. No, their words are still as valuable to me and my life and my experiences as they were when I was 4, 5, 3, 2, when I was a little girl. So that's the next chapter where I really talk about my siblings. And then the next chapter after that, I talk about my village and my garden. That's the title of that chapter. And I talk about the community that I grew up in. I talk about the neighborhood that I grew up in, specifically the block that I grew up on in West Philadelphia, and all of the amazing elders in my community, all of the amazing examples that I had of Black people in the 60s or the 70s and the 80s and the, I left home in 89, but just my experience growing up through the 70s and through the 80s in West Philadelphia, and everything that my neighbors taught me, and through their relationships, through the way they see me, through the way they received me, the way they communicated with me, even from a little girl until I became an adult. I talk about how, my family and I will go back for block parties, throughout the years, or go home to visit, and just the love that I received from my community and how that has shaped me and enabled me to go out into the world hundreds and thousands of miles away at times and create something amazing, and knowing that this is where I came from, it's so incredible for me. And then the next chapter after that, and I'm just sharing with you the titles of the chapters and the ones that I've read while I was on the plane. And then I'm going to wrap this up with what I felt after I read this. The next chapter after that is Planting and Watering, which is hands down probably one of my favorite chapters, because I talk about that family member, that unsung family member, the uncles. And I talk specifically about my 5 uncles who, hands down, have taught me so much. And as a little girl, having love from Black men, like pure love, pure protection, pure covering from Black men is absolutely invaluable. Absolutely invaluable. And I'll share this. I remember the look on, so when you're walking through this life as a woman, there are a lot of things that you have to be aware of. You have to be careful of. God gives you a keen sensitivity to, particularly predators and people in predatory behaviors and things that people might try to do to see how they can, harm you or whatever. And I'll share this. I remember particularly I was talking, and this was a pastor. And God had showed me the predatory behavior of this pastor. And I remember in a moment when I was like, yeah, I was talking to this pastor and I was like, oh, my dad. And I can see in his face that he realized, he's like, your dad is around. Like, absolutely. I have a great relationship with my dad. And I can see in his face, in his eyes, that he knew that, okay, I will not be able to pierce through, right? I think he knew that I was protected, and not just by God, but by my physical father, right? And my physical uncles. So I shared that to say that, one, men, you matter in the lives of your daughters. You matter in the lives of your nieces. You matter in the lives of your granddaughters. You matter in their lives, in your position, in a role that you play, in the way that they see you, in the way that they speak of you matters, and it matters to them, right? So when I wrote this chapter about my uncles, and I just feel so full even thinking about it, the assurance that each of them gave me and enabled me to navigate this world through everything that would threaten to intimidate or harm or disrupt the peaceful life of a woman, the peaceful life of a female child, a young lady growing and learning and navigating life. This chapter, Planting and Watering, that I talk about each of my uncles and what they mean to me. I have one uncle left, and I talked with him probably a few weeks ago. Talk with him and for a long time, which is something that I don't often get to do. And I talk about that in the book as well. But to know that I am loved and have been protected and have been seen by my uncles is something that I am so incredibly grateful for. So incredibly grateful for. And I capture that in this chapter, Planting and Watering. And after that chapter is a chapter where I talk about my aunts. And it goes without saying, to be surrounded by a tribe of beautiful, strong, amazing women, it goes without saying how that empowers you and how that esteems you and how that helps you to see the world and navigate the world. I had 11 aunts. My dad had 8 sisters, and my mom had 3 sisters. So I have 11 amazing aunts, and all of them were so different, and they all contributed so much to my life. I often talk about my Aunt Frances, who such an influence in my life from when I was a little girl. Like, I watched her, I studied her. I studied all my aunts. But I studied her, and I studied all of them, and I took from them grace. I took from them wisdom. I took from them courage. I took from them strength. I took from them creativity and vision and love and passion and all of these things that I was so incredibly honored to be able to capture in this book. And this video is way more passionate than I expected it to be, but I'm so grateful for my life and so grateful for the people that God has surrounded me with and the experiences that I get to have and experiences that I've had and being able to capture it and what that's going to mean for generations that come after me and how they will read not just about me, their great-great-great-grandmother Kwanzaa, but they will read about my mother. They will read about my sisters. They will read about my aunts and my grandparents and my neighbors and everybody who saw fit to pour something into little old me that I could bring and give to this world. And for me to understand the value of it, to be constantly reminded of the value of it. And I share all that to say, as I embark on this next phase, Dr. Kwanzaa Faleka Gibson, I wanted to be very clear that I am walking into this space with full confidence with fully esteemed, fully filled, and clear on what God has done with me and what he will continue to do with me. And however that looks, I promise you, I am satisfied. I am not selling anything to anybody. I'm going to show up my full self, my whole self, my complete self, my esteemed self, my empowered self. I'm going to show up to every space in that. And if you can receive from that, I pray to God that you receive everything that's needed for you in your journey, understanding that your journey is a part of a longer lineage. If there's anything that I can do, or anything that I ever say, or anything that I ever post that inspires you, or even make you laugh, or encourage you, or challenge you, or whatever it is, I'm going to continue to show up in whatever format, whether it's me showing, oh, this is my outfit of the day, or look what I got from the thrift store, or look how Blue is acting, or I've accomplished this. Whatever I show, however I show up, I pray to God that those who have ears may hear it, and those that God has called me to will receive it, and that I will continue to learn and grow through each and every experience. And with this next stage, when I began to do Ask Dr. K, I started off, when I shared that video, I'm not doing this because I know everything. I'm doing this because I know, and I am fully convinced that I understand that life is so much bigger than any obstacles that we may encounter. Life is so much bigger than any disappointments that we may encounter. Life is so much bigger than any rejection that we may encounter, or any arguments or disagreements or strained relationships that we encounter, but that everything that we get to do is all for purpose. So if I can contribute in any way to help people navigate the questions or the challenges or the insecurities or whatever, if I can through any way help people to navigate that, I am grateful to God for the opportunity to do that. And that's what Ask Dr. K is all about, is me, through my lens and my understanding and my experiences, is helping people to navigate those challenges and those obstacles that we all face, right? And navigate it in a way that will preserve relationships, navigate it in a way that will help to build you as a person, to build you, the integrity of you, to build your confidence, to see beyond and past the small things, the smallness of things that that threaten to disrupt relationships and disrupt families and all of those things, and to really learn that, to not even learn, but to understand and to be fully committed to you and your being and where you are at every stage of your life, at every moment of the day. Like I said, for me, I compartmentalize a lot, but that's just how my brain works. But I am fully aware of my whole self. I am fully aware of my whole self. I'll share this last thing, and then I'll share, and then I'll close out. But the other day I was at the gym, and after coming out of this, this mental challenge, right? This PhD, which was mentally stretch my mind in so many different ways. And it was a great thing to challenge myself in completing a PhD. And now I'm like, okay, I want to go into I want to challenge myself physically, and I want to challenge myself, creatively, and I have, different things that I'm working on in both of those spaces. And I'll tell you, I was at the gym, Thursday. I was at the gym the other day, Thursday, I think. Yeah, Thursday. And I took a class, and it was the most exciting thing ever. I have not been in the gym, obviously, before the pandemic, and probably, I would easily say probably a year even before that. And I go to this gym, Orange Theory, and I'm, taking one of the classes, and, it felt good to be there, first of all. Obviously, my legs are still burning, which is why I'm rubbing them now. But it was so incredible. So I go and I'm taking the classes, and you're on the row, and you're doing all the different things, and you're going through the circuit training. And I had no idea. Like, even when they were explaining, like, this is what the class is going to be and this is what we're going to do, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to do this, right? But I resolved with myself. It's like, you're going to work at your own pace. You're going to do you. And this is about you, again, compartmentalizing. This is not a group effort. This is all about Kwanzaa, and Kwanzaa challenging herself physically. Now, what you guys may not know is when I was in the military, I was super fit, and I used to lift weights, but I was always very skinny. So it wasn't like I was, I was lifting weights, but I was just fit. But I was always very skinny. And so there was something that I always enjoyed about lifting weights, though. Like, that was my thing. I just really enjoyed it. And so to be back in the gym, and the way that Orange Theory is set up is it just speaks to my whole self. It just speaks to my soul. And so going through the thing, doing the weight training, and going through the weight circuit stuff, and getting on the rowboat, which I absolutely love. And then I got on a treadmill, and by the time I got on the treadmill, I was like, I'm spent. And but I'm on the treadmill, and I'm running on the treadmill at my pace, right? And I'm hitting the red, and I'm hitting the orange, I'm like hitting all the colors, and I'm like, okay, and they do this thing where they say, okay, we're gonna do, I think it's like a 30-second push, and then a or 45-second all out, or 30-second push, then a 30-second all out, or something like that. And then it's like, then you kind of go at your own pace. But at one point, I'm on the treadmill and I'm running, and I see myself in the mirror in front of me, and I say, that's Conwell. And for those of you, if you read my book, if you know, but Conwell is my maiden name. And when I went into the military, obviously, they put your name on your uniform. And so a lot of times that's what they call you by. So I was Conwell. And all the things that I was able to establish physically, like even getting into the military at weighing like 90 pounds and having to gain weight to get, I had to be 100 pounds to get in. And so that just tells you how skinny I was. But all of that physical, all of those physical challenges, and all of the physical accomplishments that I was able to make in the military, and challenge myself in this physical space, was all Conwell. Again, that goes back to the lineage, that goes back to the history, that goes back to my ancestry. To be able to be called by that name is so incredibly important to me. And so to see her in the mirror as I am pushing through the pain and running on this treadmill was so incredible. And I knew in that moment that I owe it to Conwell to exist. And if you read my book, you know what I'm talking about. I talk about all of the pieces of me. I talk about Kwanzaa. I talk about Faleka. You guys have seen Faleka the artist. I talk about Conwell. I talk about Buffy, which was my childhood nickname. I talk about all these pieces of me and what they all mean to me and what they all bring to me. So when I say I'm compartmentalized, but I understand my whole self. I just wrote the other day, I was like, Buffy is for sure the heart. Like, that is my childhood innocence that still sees the world through these big eyes, that anything is possible. That's my heart. Conwell, or Kwanzaa, is my mind. That is the one to say, okay, I'm mentally able and smart enough and capable enough to overcome anything. And Faleka is my creative self that constantly reminds me of the need and the importance of that self-care and that being kind to yourself and expressing yourself and being able to create and build and like all of that, like the innovation, right? That lives in Faleka. And then Conwell is my strength. That is my physical fortitude. That is my physical know-how, my physical wherewithal, that I can overcome and push through any challenge. And I owe it to myself, right? To give to my heart self, to give to my creative self, to give to my mental self, to give to my physical self, and what all that means. And I am beyond grateful that I understand me in such a beautiful way. And I talk about that a lot in my book, Reflections of a Life Well Lived. I said, I'm not here to sell you guys anything, but if you have not gotten this book, I really want to encourage you to order it. I'll put the link to where you can order. I really want to encourage you to purchase it. If you've stayed this far, I already know that I'm like long form content type. But if you've watched this video this far, I really want to encourage you. If you have not purchased this book, get this book. It's incredibly important. And it helps you to shape and think about your own life in a way that is not, in a way that is very authentic, in a way that is very genuine to you. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is to join me on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as I go through, kick off my first episode of Ask Dr. K, where I will be answering, I think I have so far 3 questions that came in that I will be answering during that broadcast. And it's going to be a live, IG live broadcast. So I want to encourage you guys, if you're not following Girl From Therapy on IG, I want to encourage you to follow us. It's just Girl From Therapy Inc. You'll see, either the logo or my face. I'm not even sure what the thing is, but you'll see that there. I want to encourage you to follow. I want to encourage you to join us on our live broadcast. And I want to encourage you to, even if you don't send in a question, to listen to some of the questions that I receive. The questions that I've received so far, they're dealing with self. They're dealing with all relationships. I find that almost 1,000,000% of the challenges and issues that we encounter is all relationship based. Whether it's our relationship with ourselves, our relationships with our loved ones, our relationships with our friends or coworkers or whatever. So all of them absolutely deal with in relationship, with self, with coworkers. And then I think one is with family, one of the questions that I received. And so I'm going to talk about those questions and answer those questions. And I really believe, like I said, by the grace of God and the leading of the Holy Spirit, that this is so purpose and is going to be so fruitful. And so even if you are not, like I said, asking questions or submitting questions, I think you'll still gain something from the responses. And I think you'll be able to resonate and relate to the questions themselves, and prayerfully, through the grace of God and the leading of the Holy Spirit, my responses will be something that, you can relate to as well. And I'd be remiss if I did not state that all of the questions are anonymous. So if you want to send in a question, you can send them in anonymously. You can send them to Kwanzaa@girlfromtherapy.org. I'll have that in the description of this as well. And all my responses, obviously, I'm not mentioning names. Even if you did send it in with your name, I'm not going to mention your name on the platform. All my responses will be anonymous as well. So I look forward to this next leg of this journey. I thank you guys so much for the people who continue to just pour into me through words of encouragement, just your prayers. If you can just, I feel like I'm about to cry again. If you can, and I think I feel so emotional because it's like just the impact of it all has been so incredibly, and it is so incredible. I want you to know that it is felt, that it is greatly appreciated. Just your kind words and even the words that I don't hear, that the prayers that are sent up on my behalf, I feel it and I'm grateful. And I thank you so much. Again, that this is a new season, and, what's that? It's a new season. It's a new day. Fresh anointing is coming my way. It's a season of power and prosperity. It's a new season coming to me. That's Martha Munizzi, if you're not familiar. I'm sure other people have sung it, but that's her rendition. Nonetheless, guys, thank you so much. I did not expect this video to be this long, but thank you so much for all of your prayers and your continued support. Just know that I will continue to push and do the things that God has called me to do in my life. And I pray that it is beneficial to your life and that it connects to what it is that you're doing in your life, knowing that it connects to the larger group, the larger picture, the larger world. and just really all of us collectively just being some kind of light and hope to this world. So thank you guys for letting me interrupt your day. This has been an absolute therapeutic moment for me. I pray that it's been a blessing to you, and I look forward to you guys. Hopefully you'll join me on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Ask Dr. K, as we, tackle some of the questions that I got. And like I said, everything else will be in the description. Takeaways: follow us, Girlfriend Therapy Inc. on Instagram. Purchase the book, Reflections of a Life Well Lived. I'll have the link to that there. And then also send in questions that you may have to Kwanzaa@girlfriendtherapy.org. The links to all of that will be in the description of this video. I love you guys so much. Again, thank you for letting me interrupt your day. And until next time, blessings.